2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn Joe into DFS pros.
Good Friday! This is the NBA Daily Dispatch brought to you by DFSArmy.com. If you're not signed up with us yet, make sure you do so. Go to the website, use the promo code podcast, get yourself 20% off each month of your subscription. Once again, that's DFSArmy.com, promo code podcast. I'm your host, Al Walsh. Find me on the Twitter machine at 14a.walsh. Find my co-host, Keith Hall, there as well at Boomer's DFS Daddy. I got nothing fancy to say for the intro here, but good to be here on a Friday. Big thanks to our Friday listeners, as we have seen over the course of the season so far, our Friday podcast downloads reach up into the upper 9,000. So thank you all for listening on Friday. I guess that's because it's a payday for everyone, for mostly everyone on a Friday.
Must be, but I think last Friday got up over 10K.
It did hit 10K. All right.
But I've got one for you. Can Mother Nature figure out what the heck it's trying to do?
I don't know. 72 here in the lovely state of New Jersey.
Right now?
Yeah.
Or is that the high today?
That's probably what it is right now.
See, it was 85 here yesterday. 85! It's fantastic. Except for the fact that it's November 3rd. But today, 42.
Oh, my. Yeah, so I got 72. Yeah, but I was going to say, you getting that 85 because you're in middle America. Like, I'm right near the Atlantic Ocean, so, you got that cool breeze coming off. But
yeah, I just want it to snow and be snowed in for 3 or 4 days, maybe 2 to 4 days, because I miss it. Going up to Colorado, that's one of the reasons why me and my wife are going up to Colorado after Christmas.
Right.
So I'll get to work up in the lovely Mile High State for a little while over the New Year time frame, and I'm hoping that we get snow up there. So
no doubt,
I mean, we'll go see snow at some point there, but I'm hoping that we get snow and we get to stay there for a day longer, maybe 2.
See, I used to like the snow. When I lived in my hometown, I lived there because I lived sort of in a complex of townhouses, and they would just shovel the snow for you. Now I live at a home that's on its own, and now I got to shovel it myself. I already got enough back issues. I don't need to be, doing all this stuff, but that is neither here nor there. 12 games on today's NBA slate. I did the count beforehand. Go me. But a lot of good ones on this slate. So without further ado, let us just get into indeed, as there always are. But let's just get right into it. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers, the struggling Cleveland Cavaliers, at the Washington Wizards today. Wizards 4.5-point favorites here, has since gone to 3.5. Highest total increase of the day is in this game. Started at 215, has gone to 222.5. Teams have been very even against each other in the last 7 meetings. Same thing with the totals here as well. Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert, Isaiah Thomas all out for the Cavs tonight, while Otto Porter really the only news here for the Wizards, but he is probable with some sort of illness that's going on there. So I guess the big thing to talk about here is the Washington backcourt, which we always have a little agreement or disagreement on whether to play them or not. But what you can't disagree about is the fact that opposing backcourts have just been tearing up this Cavs team all season long. And it doesn't matter who it's been. Everyone's doing it. So John Wall, again, priced just under 10K on both sites. Bradley Beal, all the way up to 8,000 on FanDuel now. So any interest here with this Washington backcourt at that price?
I mean, it's a little weird because of the star power that we have and some of the good spots that we have. I'm not sure if John Wall's going to be highly owned, and if that's the case, I think it's a good spot that maybe we can exploit this matchup. Do I love playing John Wall close to the 10K part? No. But if you're going to tell me that John Wall could go for 55 at 2% ownership, then yeah, I'm definitely intrigued, and I don't. Anybody that tells you that they're not is they really don't understand what they're doing. So
yeah, I kind of got the same
don't
feelings.
Because we saw Bradley Beal go off. What was that against? Who's the last game?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. And John Wall just kind of sat back and just facilitated. Like, I think that's one of the risks that you take. And we always knew it was a risk when, like, teams have good point guards and shooting guards that play alongside next to each other. But more so now, as like there was an article in the Washington Post about how John Wall and Bradley Beal have taken their individual stardom and learned to work together, and really, really kind of take their individual stardom and pair it together and become this, honestly, probably the best backcourt 1-2 punch in the Eastern Conference. And that's something that John Wall said that he had to learn, was that he didn't always need to be the guy, and he could facilitate and take some attention off of Beal to where he could get where Beal could get the open shots. And just like we've seen LeBron do a lot, where he'll keep everybody involved and just be the facilitator instead of being aggressive and going to the basket. We see the same thing with John Wall, and I mean that's one of the risks you take when playing John Wall close to 10K. That's the only thing that scares me. Could you play both of them?
I think so. Again, I mean, this is a matchup that's been working out well. The fact that the totals jumped up so high, I think that certainly bodes in their favor as well. I mean, the price, look, FanDuel knows what they're doing, so, it's not going to be an easy fit. Obviously we'll take a look at the rest of the games on the slate, but yeah, I mean, my first initial thought is, both guys are fantastic for this matchup. I'm just looking at Wall's history right now against the Cavs. He did 65.5. He's actually done it twice in the last 7 meetings against the Cavs. I mean, other than those two 60s, though, we're looking at high 40s, like basically what John Wall does, his usual game slot. So that worked. Whenever we look at John Wall, you got to look at what's coming back at them on the opposing end. So, again, with a desperate Cavs team, a good matchup, I think this all bodes well for Wall. Again, the domination station likes him in the early run of all this. So, it's tough to go against that lately.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, looking at the Cavs side of things here. LeBron James, look, the team needs a win. Wade already chirping that the team that being on this team is like a bad marriage. LeBron averaging 57.8 DraftKings points, 54 FanDuel points in his last 5 meetings against the Wizards. They need a huge game. Again, totals going up. Cavs actually an underdog in this game. What are we thinking about LeBron here?
I don't think that like we said this the other night, like there's no way that LeBron lets them lose 3 in a row, and they still lost 3 in a row. But it wasn't
handedly.
But it wasn't because of LeBron. LeBron did his part.
Right.
Now everybody's going to look to Kevin Love here with Tristan Thompson out, and it's just like we said, like at the beginning of the season, Kevin Love running at the 5 for an extended period of time is not good for Kevin Love.
And I I was just not only that, but Kevin Love in this matchup against the Wizards, aside from a 60-point performance on both sites last year, consistently in the low 30s against this Washington team. And
Wasn't that the night that he came out and hit like 6 threes in the first quarter?
Believe so. I mean, there's been a ton of those nights, but this was also an overtime game as well that he did that. So
yeah, see, so
saying the numbers are not good. There will be a picture on Walsh's Wingman today of it. It is not glorious.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't do Love. I think your play out of here for the Cavaliers is LeBron James, and even then, I'm trying to look here real quick. I was on a different screen. LeBron James is 10-6. I don't mind that. I mean, he's a $1,400 discount on FanDuel from Giannis. On FanDuel, DraftKings. He is, come on. He's 10-6. That's going to be a $1,800 or $1,600 $1,800 discount from Giannis on DK. So, yeah, I guess I don't mind it. It's not as appealing with Kelly Oubre on there, on his 6 all the time, but it's not necessarily like a matchup that LeBron can't excel in.
Oh, hell no. He gonna get his.
I mean, okay, so I know we haven't got to the rest of these guys yet, but since we're on LeBron, let's just go over these guys. Okay. LeBron or Boogie? It doesn't as far as position eligible. Like if this was in a pick'em format, okay.
Sure.
LeBron or Boogie?
Kind of like LeBron. I mean, don't get me wrong. Boogie's in a fantastic matchup, but kind of like LeBron in this one.
LeBron or Giannis?
I'll go LeBron. Price.
This is a pick'em format. Raw points.
Oh, duh. Go Giannis in this one.
Okay. LeBron or AD?
I gotta go AD.
LeBron or Westbrook? That's what
I wanted to do. At Westbrook, and I got good numbers to back that one up later.
LeBron or Harden?
LeBron.
Okay. Now here's one for you. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. Ready?
All right.
Actually, I got 2 curveballs, but one's got a caveat.
Waiting back on it. I know
LeBron or Ben Simmons?
LeBron.
Okay. Now, LeBron or Joel Embiid if Miles Turner is out?
Well, gotta go LeBron. I don't like that minutes cap.
He played 30 minutes and scored 60 fantasy points.
It's all right, LeBron. It's all right. It's one game.
I'm just saying, like...
Actually, there is a case to be made for Embiid, too, when we get there. So
yeah, but I think most of that's probably, site dependent or salary dependent. But, I mean, that's kind of I'm kind of with you on that, on a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I would go Boogie over LeBron on that first one. But,
yeah, I cringed when I said that. Don't worry.
Oh, I know, but like just because I think Boogie's ceiling is more consistently higher than LeBron's is. But I mean, LeBron's number 3B? I put him and Westbrook probably about the same, but above Anthony Davis and James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay. I mean, that's my whole thing. So, I mean, that should show you kind of where I rank it, and where you rank it as well. It's just, it's one of those things like this team has to get going at some point. Like when Gordon Hayward went down the first day of the season, everybody handed the Eastern Conference title to LeBron. And right now they look bad.
Hey, you know what? They do look bad, but we're getting some pretty good fantasy point outputs.
Yeah, we
because of
usually
it.
typically don't care about how bad somebody looks. It's just,
Okay. One note before we get to the next game. Derrick Rose actually, now again a little bit of a different situation for him, but he's averaging 32 DKP, close to 30 FDP in his last 7 meetings against the Wizards. So he does like that matchup against Mr. Wall. Okay. Next game that we got on the docket. We've got the. Why does everything gotta be slow? The Chicago Bulls at the Orlando Magic. Magic 8-point favorites in this one. Total at 206 has dropped slightly down in this one. Nothing major. Chicago 4-3 straight up against Orlando in their last 7 meetings. However, this is an interesting one. The last 7 Bulls Magic games have gone under the total. Levine, Mirotic, Portis, Payne all out for the Bulls. Peyton, Augustine, Payne out for the Magic. Bulls on the front end of a back-to-back. They will be in New Orleans, or they'll be in Chicago to take on New Orleans tomorrow. Here's an interesting one. You know my days of the week, how much I love them, Keith. 8-21 against the spread are the Bulls in their last 29 games that fell on a Friday. All right, I think this one's pretty easy. Down low against the Bulls, attack it. Good, great, grand, wonderful. Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, both heavily in play for this one, especially with Elfrid Payton and Augustine out for this one. Probably going to get a lot more usage. I think that also bodes well for Evan Fournier and Terrence Ross. I was looking on the popcorn machina last night. All 4 of those guys played massive minutes. Probably going to be the same again tonight.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Jerian Grant's price has dropped. He's still going to play 25 minutes. I still am not going to play Jerian Grant.
Let's be with the Magic for now. We'll get there.
You already mentioned everybody. Okay, well,
that's it.
All
right.
I guess we do have to address one situation.
Okay.
Shelvin Mack.
Okay.
Elfrid Payton right now is listed in the domination station at 26 minutes because he was questionable. That is not going to happen. He has already since been ruled out. I suspect that Max minutes are going to climb, which means that his production is going to climb. So if I were to just go ahead and say, what did Mac play last game? Do you have that pulled up?
I don't.
Okay, well, I will pull it up then.
I believe it was 24 minutes, though. I mean, he still got run with DJ Augustine in the lineup. But...
Right, but now he's going to get all the run. So let's just put it on the conservative side of 27.
Okay.
And that's going to skyrocket his fantasy point production over the 20-point mark. At 5,000, I guess you can make a point. I don't like it because I think that right now, as of the way that things are constructed right now, he's one of the chalk value point guards. And, I mean, we've had luck fading chalk value point guards this year so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to say, too, FanDuel really didn't help out the situation with Max Price there, 5,000, so I don't think he'll be too much chalk. You got Jarrett Jack, who's in a similar spot, probably an even better spot. But, 3,800 on DraftKings for Shelvin Mack. That's certainly an interesting way to go. I think, what's interesting here is that, Evan Fournier in this situation. Now,
there we go.
That's what I really like here. You'll see him handling the ball a lot more. Again, when Mac's off the floor. So we've seen Fournier at times play close to 40 minutes under Frank Vogel. So I'm really excited about that situation. And, of course, down low we mentioned, but this is a good one too. Except for Tristan Thompson, every center to face the Chicago Bulls this season has notched a fantasy point or more per minute in their meeting. Now if you take a look at the totals, like, oh, how come we're not picking on, or, how come we pick on Chicago all the time? The numbers aren't that great. Well, these guys have gotten their ass kicked. plenty of times this season. So, the numbers on like Jonas Valanciunas, Steven Adams, guys like that, they kind of got capped off a little bit because of the beatdown that they were laying on the Bulls. But again, it's a situation that, yes, this can happen. This Magic team can certainly beat them down and sort of cap the points. But in my opinion, the matchup is too good to pass up on points that are going to be a sure thing.
Here's my pivot. Okay, I guess I really don't even care. We've been down the Shelvin Mack value point guard option when he was cheaper before. And granted, it was with Utah, but still. If as what it stands right now, I want Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic. That's it.
Okay.
Like
All right.
I don't think I need to go to Shelvin Mack today. There's not a lot of value, but I've got a couple of spots that I can choose in later games at other positions. I don't think I need a value point guard.
Yeah.
And I know like the default roster construction when everybody wakes up in the morning is always going to be one high point guard and one small point guard. And I mean that strictly by price, not by anything else. So I don't think I need to go there. Evan Fournier is just, he's a usage monster. We read the article this morning when they were talking about that Mac is going to get a lot of the run, and he did play well in that last game against Memphis. But they said that when they made it to where 4 guys can actually really get them into plays when coming up the court. So I want the 4 guys with a lot of offensive talent. But one of them's out, so I want the other 3.
Yep. Let's take a look at the Bulls here because they're sort of interesting. Chris Dunn, very good call by you the last time the Bulls played. He's performed incredibly well in these first 2 games after missing 4 due to a finger injury. His boy David Nwaba, he's had 2 really good games, posting 6x tournament value in 2 of the last 3. Lauri Markkanen been incredibly consistent. Finally had that game that pushed him over the top in terms of tournament value in that last one. But here's what's interesting. All right, I don't want everybody to forget about my boy Justin Holiday because just because Chris Dunn, David Nwaba have been coming up here, Holiday's still getting the minutes. He's still taking the shots. None of that has changed. It's just a matter of efficiency for Holiday. And finally, his price tag dropped below $6K on FanDuel. So, it's been right at the same place on DraftKings, but on FanDuel now he's $5,600. Not the greatest matchup. Evan Fournier has actually been pretty good on defense this season. But if that's who he's going to get, I'm not as interested. If he goes against Terrence Ross, though, that's something that I'm definitely interested in. But, this Bulls team, for all the ass kickings that they take, they certainly put up some fantasy points.
Yeah, they do. We talked about both Nwaba and Dunn before any of that news came out, and I like them both again here tonight. David Nwaba was one of those guys. I think that we can. This is one of the reasons why I don't have any interest in Shelvin Mack. Nwaba, he's been playing well. He's been playing 25 plus minutes a game. Now, he's a little scoring dependent, but you know what? For 4,100, I can deal with that. If I want to go to a point guard and a shooting guard, excuse me, orange juice is coming up the wrong tube. If I want to go to a point guard that's shooting guard eligible on FanDuel, I'll just go to Chris Dunn for $5,300. I can punt both. And not just out of this game, but I can punt both shooting guard positions on FanDuel today and, pay up at both point guards. And now all of a sudden, I've got 3 point guard. If I have Chris Dunn in there, I've got 3 point guards now in my lineup. And I don't know. I really like the sound of having 3 point guards in my lineup on FanDuel today. It's good, especially at some of the discount that I can get some of these more talented point guards at today. Like, FanDuel's really, really good. They have been really, really good about, where they've been pricing people. But the overall pricing of point guards has gone down. Because they've spiked other positions. So I'm not sure that that's a way that I would personally do it, but I mean, we haven't even talked about a lot of these guys that I really, really, really do like. But it's definitely not Shelvin Mack.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to the next game here. Indiana Pacers at the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers 6-point favorites in this one at the start. Has come down a bit, 4.5 points. Total started out at 216. That's jumped up 4 points. Very interesting. Indiana 6-1 straight up against Philly in their last 7 meetings, covering 5 of those 7. 5 of those last 7 games as well have gone over the total. So very good. For Indiana, this is their 3rd game in 4 days. For the Sixers, they have 2 full days off after tonight's game, so that could be interesting for one player in particular. In terms of injuries, Miles Turner upgraded to questionable with that concussion. Glenn Robinson III, Edmund Sumner, both listed as out for the Pacers. J.J. Redick probable with the back issue, and then Markelle Fultz is going to be out again with the shoulder issue. What's interesting, though, is that this will be the first game back for Richaun Holmes. So let's start there. Now, I mentioned 2 full days off after tonight's game. That could mean little more extended run for Joel Embiid. But with Richaun Holmes coming back in the mix, I wonder if they're going to have to extend him that much. I don't know. What's your take on this situation?
I honestly think they run out Richaun Holmes with Embiid, with God, I just lost it. Ben Simmons, with Robert Covington, and with J.J. Redick. I mean, we've seen it. Ben Simmons is running the point for a lot of these plays. He's their main primary ball handler right now. But I mean, if you want to talk about, I know it's a lot of name cachet and everything, but you want to talk about a potentially in time in spurts dominant lineup to force that could just dominate the size or the lack of size right now. If Miles Turner is out for the Pacers, I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I don't know if they run. See, I just don't know if they run him out there for 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's certainly something we got to think about. Embiid over the last 2 games does have 5 steals and 4 blocks, which has certainly elevated his fantasy point totals. Still putting up the numbers: 43 points, 21 rebounds, 11 assists in that span of 2 games as well. He's hitting his numbers, but again, those steals and those blocks have a lot to do with it.
But that's part of his game, though. Like, if this was like normal, I say normal, that's hilarious. If this was normal people, I would say, yeah, that's probably a little bit elevated. This isn't normal. Are you kidding me right now? It's not normal what he's been doing. But it's part of his game. Now, is he going to go 4-3 every single night? No. But, I mean, 2-1, 3-2, I mean, that's not out of the, the floor monster. My words are all jumbled up. That's not out of the range of possibilities to be pretty consistent. There we go. But I mean, here's what I think the return to Richaun Holmes now, and if JJ plays again, which I'm I'm assuming he's going to, but there still is that question mark because it is a back.
Right.
I
they
think this
did list him
hurts-
as probable, so it should be fine.
Yeah, I think this hurts T.J. McConnell the most.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, he continues to get those minutes off the bench. As much as I, want to say, hey, it's time that we stop playing him, it's tough to. And
I don't know, because now he's getting 26 minutes off the bench with that usage and getting 30 to 35. He's got a 35-point ceiling. Now, granted, his price has gone up, but now he's at like 5% owned, if that.
Yeah.
Because J.J. Redick's back, nobody wants to play him.
And what's good, too, is that his matchup, he's probably going to get matched up against Corey Joseph. So Joseph was actually the 12th worst defending point guard last season out of 79 of them. So that's an interesting one. Speaking of matchups, according to last season's defensive real plus minus, Robert Covington, he's going to be going up against Bojan Bogdanovic, third worst defender in the entire NBA last season. So that could end up being a good one. But, yeah, again, Simmons, Embiid, at this point for me, it's lock and load. But, again, there's some discussion about it with the price, which actually makes it not lock and load, but whatever.
I think he's a great tournament play.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the Pacers here. Dominatus Sabonis got a great matchup here. Philly is allowing the fifth most fantasy points per game to opposing centers. Dominatus. The first time I'm not going to change my way like you with Schroeder. I'm not going to change my ways on Dominatus.
Yeah, but I do Schroeder because he's French and it's funny.
Oh, so what I did wasn't. Okay.
No, I just think you don't know how to pronounce it.
Damontis.
Okay. So you
Yeah,
do. Okay.
I know how.
Look,
I just don't want to.
Just so we're clear, I've never heard you. I've always heard you call him Sabonis, not Dominandus or whatever it was. So I just wanted to make sure. So now the trolling can begin. So we're good.
Last season I kept this season I finally learned how to spell it right. But when I wrote it like in articles, it was always Dominatus. So who knew? Yeah, I mean, again, Philly not doing so well against centers, so that's not a bad play. And then Victor Oladipo, he's kind of underperformed here in the last 3 games, but I'll attribute that to blowouts and, kind of ridiculous circumstances. I know he had a lot of turnovers in one of those games too, but Philly is allowing the 4th most fantasy points to shooting guards early on this season, so keep that in mind. Either interest from either guy or anybody else on Indiana, or what do you like?
I'm very interested to kind of. Do you think that maybe Miles Turner kind of had this date circled? Like, okay, and not saying that he planned to have a concussion, but if he was gonna miss, he was trying to circle this, saying, okay, I definitely want to, if I have the choice, be back for at least this game.
Yeah.
I'm. Because there's all this talk about Embiid and trust the process and how he's just doing everything. And Miles Turner's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, hey, haven't we all done stuff on a concussion before? I mean, come on. This is nothing new.
Let's not talk about what I do on my concussions. So, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting to think about. I'm not saying I'll play him, but it is interesting to think about maybe watching this and seeing what kind of, big motivation that he has going up against Embiid. Other than that, not even. I legit think I have no interest in the Indiana Pacers, unfortunately.
Well, it's interesting with the total going up, and
I know when I started and I did a lot of my research last night, that was what it is. Now, since the total's gone up, I think maybe. I mean, I don't know if I want to chase that. Not with having to deal with Robert Covington, Rashawn Holmes, Joel Embiid.
Sure.
I'm definitely not playing Sabonis if Miles Turner's back, even though that they did say they want to play both Sabonis and Turner together on the floor at the same time. I think until we see some sort of kind of inkling on how they're going to run this 3-man rotation up there, because they're not going to bench that. Like, he's talented enough. They're not going to bench that. Sabonis is a former first-round pick, and they invested. I mean, they gave up Paul George for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. Like, these two aren't going to be benched either. Maybe Oladipo going against J.J. Redick and T.J. McConnell?
Yeah, the matchup there is interesting, right? Because Covington, obviously one of the better defenders in the NBA. So you would think maybe he gets Oladipo tonight, and then Bogdanovich probably against Redick at the start. I would probably have more interest in Bogdanovich in that point. And Bogdanovich lately, I mean, where was this with the Nets, this type of consistency? I mean, this guy's been balling outrageous lately, so certainly worth a look. But
I don't think they're going to put Covington on Depot. I think they're going to keep him on Bogdanovich.
All right. Well, hey, we'll go to the videotape after the pod.
We're going to have to, because with Miles Turner back, I think they need to keep Covington in to help. If I don't know, I'm trying to talk through the rotation here, and it's not this early in the season. It's not working right. Because you also got to throw in Lance Stevenson's been playing well. He's going to get some minutes.
Sure.
TJ Leaf has been playing well when he gets his run, but he's going to be your spell guy for these guys. Other than Victor Oladipo, who's going to have the usage, I just don't play Darren Collison right now.
All right, fair enough.
I just think it's Depot.
That is coming off of his massive performance against the Cavs, but once again, that's not anything new. All right, next game we got Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons. Pistons 2-point favorites here. Total 201.5 has jumped to 204.5, or just 204. Teams have split the last 8 meetings straight up and against the spread. In terms of injuries, Greg Monroe out for the Bucks. John Lure out for the Pistons. For the Bucks, this is their 3rd game in 4 days. For the Pistons, they do have 2 full days of rest coming into tonight's game, but they are on the front end of a back-to-back as they host the Kings tomorrow. All right. I don't know. For this game, it's pretty simple for me. Andre Drummond for the Pistons, and for the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton.
I think Chris Middleton's worth the discussion of fading in tournaments just because he just popped off for 60 the last game, which we talked about. He was in a fantastic bounce-back spot. Now, is he going to shoot 28 times? No. Is he going to score 60 fantasy points? No. But, we did talk about how he was in a perfect bounce-back spot for tournaments.
Don't overlook his he had a performance earlier in the week at Atlanta where he went for over 50 fantasy points on both sites.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a possibility to do again. I'm just talking, let's see. He's 70, 77.
Yeah. 72 on DK.
See, I really like him a lot more on DK because it's a 3-point bonus. I don't mind him on FanDuel, but if he's going to be highly owned because of the fact that this is going to be a slower pace game, and because, you've got Giannis and, Avery Bradley could see Chris Middleton, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume so.
I think this might be a perfect, I
feel like with Milwaukee, these teams, if you're going to guard the Greek, you need all hands on deck. So I feel like a little bit of Bradley, a little bit of
Avery
Tobias,
Bradley cannot guard Giannis Antetokounmpo.
You just have to put different bodies on him. Number one, foul trouble. Just, and again, it's going to be a grind trying to do it against him. So, again, I don't think one player in particular is going to be on the other. I think it's going to be a lot of different, matchups tonight.
See, I don't know if the way that I think about it is, okay, if I can stick Bradley on Middleton and take Middleton out of the game, now I've eliminated one option. Like, now Giannis, not saying that Giannis can't do it, but now Giannis has to do more. Does that make sense?
Sure.
What are we doing with John Henson today? This is interesting.
I could do without it.
I could too, but I've heard some chatter about him.
And on the interwebs?
Yes. So, anyways, we're spending too much time on this one. That one's something that I've got to think about.
All right, show enough. All right, next game that we got on the docket, we got the Houston Rockets at the Atlanta Hawks. Rockets 9-point favorites in this one, total at 214 in this game. Interestingly enough, Atlanta has won their last 4 games straight up and against the spread versus the Rockets. 3 of the last 4 Houston-Atlanta games have gone under the total. For the Rockets in this one, of course, Chris Paul's still out with the knee injury. For the Hawks, they've got more meaningful injuries here. Malcolm Delaney, doubtful with the ankle injury. Ersan Ilyasova, DeAndre Bembry, Miles Plumlee, all out for tonight's game with their individual ailments. Given that news with Malcolm Delaney, maybe that's more run for Dennis Schroeder. Maybe we see Kent Bazemore handling the ball a little more. Any interest here going up against Houston?
I don't know. Just because, like, Atlanta hasn't looked like a team that can sustain offensive threats. I mean, somebody's going to come out of this game, and if you think that, Atlanta's at least going to be within 10 to 15 points of this game, somebody's got to be appealing from the Hawks, right?
Oh yes, and again, I think it's Schroeder again, 33% usage rate. He's got at least 35 DK points, at least 34 FanDuel points in all 6 games this season. Certainly thinks the upside's there in tonight's matchup. I got to think Bazemore's probably going to draw Harden, and then, Schroeder and Gordon can do whatever the hell they want on each other. But, again, I'm always a big fan of Schroeder. And, again, I want to get on this Schroeder bandwagon before the price jumps up on him or he does anything. Again, just all throughout the preseason, early on this season, his usage rate has just been through the roof. So, again, I think that this is a great price on a guy like that. We haven't seen the huge upside yet, but I think it's coming soon, my friend. Like a 50-point game is on the horizon. With this usage rate, it has to be.
Yeah, I can see it.
And again,
okay.
we've got the history here, right? Saying
Yeah.
the Hawks won the last 4.
Yeah, you're talking me into it.
Again, especially on DraftKings, I mean that's the one where it's like no doubt about it. I mean he's only 7,100 over there. That's where I've got the majority of my interest. But FanDuel's case could be made. I don't know. I mean, slightly priced up, a little out of reach there on FanDuel, but again, DraftKings, that's a no-brainer, my friends.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna succumb to you on this one because, yeah.
All right, fair enough. I'm obviously probably not going to have, I don't know, maybe aside from Bazemore, some interest. Taurean Prince had a big game last game for the Hawks, but I don't know. Again, this just is not something that I can get comfortable with on a regular basis from ATL.
He's playing a lot of minutes, but I don't like him going up against Trevor Ariza. Like, Trevor Ariza is not the defender he used to be, right?
Right.
I mean, we know that, but he's still capable. Like, I think if Kent Bazemore was out, then we could get behind it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, just for Torian Prince too, by the way, at least 30 FanDuel points in four of his last 5 games. So that is interesting. All right, let's talk about the Rockets because I could tell we're struggling for plays here from the Hawks. I mean, again, Harden not consistently not hitting his salary-based expectations, only won triple-double this season. Don't think tonight's going to be the night. But here's an interesting one. Atlanta actually allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing centers early on this season. And then they're also allowing the third most fantasy points per game to opposing small forwards. So Clint Capella, Trevor Ariza, certainly interesting in that aspect. Brian Anderson road game. Sure you got some interest there?
A little bit. A little bit. I really like Clint Capella.
Dig it.
I know he's expensive, but I really like Clint Capella. Like we knew he was talented and everything. It was more of could he stay out of the bonehead, stupid decisions that he seems to make. Who is that? It's like Nikola Jokic. Like he'll just foul somebody just to foul him. Like it's like, oh my God, I haven't got to. This is how Clint Capella used to be. Oh my God, I haven't got to foul in like 5 minutes. I got to foul somebody. Come on. and that's what Jokic does. But he's not doing that this year, which is allowing him to stay on the. Now it helps that Nene hasn't, played a couple of these games too, and the games you can kind of tell which is going to be, a Nene game or which is going to be a Capella game. Now, I'm not saying that Capella can't excel in these slower-paced matchups, but he plays more minutes in these faster-paced games like the Knicks, the Sixers, Sacramento. Now, he only did play 18 minutes in the game against Golden State, but that was the one game I think he got in a little bit of foul trouble. But games like Memphis, Charlotte, Dallas, he didn't play over 21 minutes in any 3 of those games. Or 4 of those games. Sorry, he played 24 the first matchup against Memphis, but still. If it's a slower paced game, he's gonna not play as much. And this isn't one of those. So I don't mind, and that's gonna keep his price from going to 85 to 9,000. Under 8K, I don't mind playing Clint Capella in tournaments because I don't think a lot of people are gonna go to him with, Boogie. I mean, you look at just what's around Clint Capella. Kevin Love with Tristan Thompson out. Nikola Vucevic is actually cheaper. Dwight Howard is cheaper. Al Horford, Steven Adams. I mean, these guys are all cheaper. Enes Kanter. So I don't mind Clint Capella as a sneaky tournament play that everybody's going to forget about. In fact, I'm writing it down right now just to make sure I don't forget.
Yeah, and again too, with the fantasy points per game allowed by Atlanta, it makes it all that much sweeter. All right, let's go to the next game here. New Orleans Pelicans, 3-point favorites here, have since jumped up to 4.5-point favorites at Dallas tonight. Over under at 211 in that one. Teams have split the straight up record here in the last 8 meetings. 5 of the last 8 Mavericks Pelicans games have gone under the total. For the Pelicans, same injury report. Rondo, Solomon Hill, Alexis Ajinça, Omar Asik all out. For the Mavs, Seth Curry, Josh McRoberts, Dorian Finney-Smith out, all out for this game. For New Orleans, this is a front end of a back-to-back. They are at Chicago tomorrow, and then Dallas also on the front end of a back-to-back. They are at Minnesota tomorrow night. All right, let's dig into it. Boogie, AD, both phenomenal matchups here against the Mavs. But I just want to throw some numbers out there for the people. Boogie first. Dallas is allowing the 5th most fantasy points per game to opposing centers. Since the 2015-16 season, Boogie has posted at least 51 DraftKings points and at least 47 FanDuel points against the Mavs 5 times in that span. I believe that's over 7 games. And then AD in his last 6 meetings against Dallas, the numbers have been quite fruitful, right around 60 or just below it. Both sites right there. He's just been absolutely dominating them. So Again, I got tons of interest in these guys, but as is always the case, will you have enough salary cap to fit them in?
Well, let's see. On FanDuel, if I lock in both Boogie, Davis, and Drew and click Optimize, a minimum of 3 teams is needed. Okay, I guess I got to do that too. Well, I go through the domination station here as we record the pod, and I just unclick the games that we're not on. Yes, you can do it. It requires you paying guys like J.J. Barea.
Gross!
But it is possible.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I locked Davis and Boogie in about 5,200 left for each player.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can do it. I mean, you go get guys like Chris Dunn, David Nwaba, that we talked about. There are definite options. Now, why I don't understand why people are all over J.J. Barea. I mean, am I missing something? Like, is he like the second incarnation of Reggie Jackson, just not playing the minutes, or?
Whoa. I don't know.
Or is everybody just hounding onto that 4-game stretch at the beginning of the season where he had 4 really, really, really good matchups?
Yeah. They must be. I don't know, because there's nothing that really popped off to me. I mean, maybe in a backup battle of the point guards, he just rolls around Jameer Nelson all night. I mean,
if Dennis Smith Jr. gets hurt, then yes.
Yeah.
If Dennis Smith Jr. is out, then yes.
I don't know. I do not know why this is. I mean, even like Devin Harris is a guy that's been playing some minutes lately.
Exactly. And you still have Harrison Barnes. You still have Wesley Matthews. They all handle the ball as well. I don't understand it, and I'm not going to waste too much more stressing about it. I just unclick, like, J.J. Barea isn't even somebody that comes into the spectrum of range of possibilities in my head.
We've already spent 2 more minutes than we should have on J.J. Barea.
Yeah. And we're not going to spend any time on Nerlens Noel.
Bam!
Or Dirk Nowitzki.
Darker.
Now, here's the question. It's Harrison Barnes, 6,100
and
FanDuel.
Wesley Matthews.
Well, let's go over Harrison Barnes first.
All right.
Harrison Barnes, 6,100, playing 36 plus minutes against this New Orleans. This New Orleans. I mean, he's going to get what? Chandler Parsons, or he's going to get Tony Allen, Dante Cunningham.
I would think. I think he's going to get AD. And I specifically watched the Mavs. Last I went back and watched the game against the Clippers.
Why would Harrison Barnes get Anthony Davis on defense?
Playing the 4.
Has he been playing a lot of the 4?
Well, yeah, because Dallas has been going DSJ at the 1, somebody at the 2, whether that's Yogi. I mean, the last 2 games has been Devin Harris. You got Wesley Matthews at the 3, and then they've been rolling with Barnes and then Dirk. I mean, obviously their lineup changes throughout the game a lot, but at the start, that's usually how it is. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to use Noel a little more on defense. I mean, I don't think he's a viable fantasy play tonight, but they have to get creative and go big against these guys. But yeah, I would say that Barnes is going to be the guy that draws AD tonight. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of the matchups from last year or whatever.
See, I would think if they're going big that would mean more Dwight Powell.
Perhaps. I mean, yeah. Again, like I said, Dallas is going to have to get creative in how they're going to handle these two because they really don't have a lot of capable bodies to do so while also, coming in somewhat quality-wise on the offensive end. So
I feel bad for Rick Carlisle. Like he's a really, really good coach. He just has had nothing to deal with, like nothing at all.
I mean, it's getting better now that you could build around Barnes and DSJ, but
somebody we forgot about.
Okay.
Seth Curry is supposed to possibly be back tonight.
Really? I did not get that information.
I don't think he's a viable option. I think he's going to be on a minutes restriction. I'm going to have to do some work, but I think he is still going to be back.
Interesting. So I practiced Tuesday to what length, no idea. But yeah, I mean, I don't. The only thing I think that does is solidify their 2 spot, which is a good thing. But I don't think that affects like Barnes at all, and then Matthews maybe a little bit. But again,
it takes some attention. It takes some attention off of Barnes because now you've got another outside threat that you can have to worry about. So, yeah. Anyways, it's. I mean, this is Dallas. Look, it's Harrison Barnes. If Seth Curry is still out, it's Wesley Matthews. Maybe if you're building multiple tournament lineups and you want to take a chance on Dennis Smith going against Drew Holiday defense. Now, Drew Holiday defense is not something you want to really, really attack. At least I don't like attacking it. But we have seen this kid put up some good games. He does have talent. Nah, never mind. I can't do it at 5,600 at a 33-point ceiling. Can't do it. Never mind.
Just a couple numbers on Barnes and Matthews as well. Barnes averaged 33 DraftKings, 31 FanDuel points against New Orleans in 4 meetings since joining the Mavs. And then for Matthews tonight, now he's listed as a shooting guard, but it's technically more of a small forward. Pelicans allowing the second most fantasy points per game to that position early on this season.
Yeah, that's why I said Harrison Barnes.
All right. All right. Charlotte Hornets at the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs 4-point favorites tonight. Over under 197.5. Spurs 3-1 against the Hornets in their last 4 meetings, covering 2 of those. For injury news tonight, Michael Carter-Williams questionable with a knee injury for the Hornets. And then Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Nicholas Batum, Julian Stone all out for the Hornets. For the Spurs, going to be a back end of a back-to-back. Remember, they hosted the Warriors last night. Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Joffrey Laverne, and then Manu Ginobili got added to the list today. He'll be out for rest purposes.
He's questionable.
I saw out.
Yeah, and then there was a report 2 minutes later that said he is questionable.
Well, it's Manu Ginobili. Who gives a shit?
Exactly. Right. He's not going to move the needle. I just don't want to give people wrong information.
Gotcha. No problem. All right. I guess if the Hornets are on the docket, we have got to start at the power forward position. That's where LaMarcus Aldridge is. Always been a good way to attack the Hornets. Now, the DDP chart isn't exactly showing that, but we all know going against power forwards, or going with power forwards against the Hornets is the way to go. So, I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge has been so consistent with Kawhi, with Parker out of the lineup this season. I mean, this is a pretty good spot to start, in my opinion.
Not after last night. I think he's gonna be overowned.
Okay.
This game is actually kind of a complete fade for me. I have no interest in.
Then I don't even have to ask your opinion on Kyle Anderson if that's the case.
No, because we got to understand that last night was a 2-game slate. Everybody was watching those games, so everybody saw LMA, Kyle Anderson. These guys in the later game that we'll talk about. Everybody saw these guys, so I have no interest in this game.
I actually went back and I looked it up. That game last night was the best fantasy output of Anderson's career.
Well, yeah, because he's playing behind Kawhi Leonard.
I'm just saying
that's going to limit you.
but there have been plenty of games where the Spurs sit all their guys, and and then a lot of these guys get run.
And he's $3,000 at that point, and then you're happy with the 28. But for him to put up what he did last night, and not only that, but at the price, I mean, not that you should even really worry about price on a 2-game slate. But anyways, that's going to be the best game of his career. He looked good. He looked really good.
He's a Jersey guy.
He relegated Rudy Gay to 18 minutes. Here's the thing, I guess if you wanted to have like your ownership leverage play in this game, not that I think Kawhi or Kyle Anderson is going to be highly owned on a 12-game slate. but maybe to pivot off of LMA. I mean, maybe you could think about Rudy Gay because he only played 18 minutes. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any interest in anybody in this game.
I got one tournament dart. Jeremy Lamb, shooting guards. Again, they just continue to do well against the Spurs, and it's crazy. But I'm not going to try to break it down scientifically. They're just doing well against the Spurs, and they have been since last season.
Which is really, really weird considering that Danny Green is one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA.
Indeed. It's like all of them just make their shots against the Spurs. It's crazy. A la Klay Thompson last night, who did not have a good history against the Spurs, went in and put up a nice night. So, hey, whatever the case is, that could work out for you in tournaments. But, yeah, again, I don't have much interest in this game either, so let's move it along. This one's interesting. Miami Heat at the Denver Nuggets.
You tease.
What?
I thought you were going to another one. Sorry.
Well, that's the second to last one, but we'll get there. Miami Heat. These all go by chronologically in time, so that's how we go. Miami Heat at the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets 5.5-point favorites. Total of 215 in this one. Miami 3-1 against the Nuggets in their last 4 games, and 3 of the last 4 in this series have gone over the total. Not much injury news that is worthy, so we don't have to worry about that. Denver, however, though, front end of a back-to-back, playing Golden State at home tomorrow night. So possibly could get caught looking ahead, but we'll get into it. Let's start with the Heat because they got some more interesting numbers here. So Hassan Whiteside came back into the lineup. 5 straight double-doubles against the Nuggets in his career, including a combined 19 blocks in his last 4 meetings against the Nuggets. Obviously, a lot of those probably on Jokic's head. So with these two idiots banging it out down low, could be a nice matchup to go to there. Now, Whiteside, 9,000 on FanDuel, not so much interested there, but on DraftKings, 7,600. I could be thwarted that way.
We have to watch out because they were talking about him being possibly on a minutes restriction going up into altitude.
Oh my goodness!
So I did see.
Put a Band-Aid on it, bro.
I did see some chatter about that yesterday from the NBA beat. So
all right.
That is something that we're gonna have to watch out for. If he's not on a minutes restriction, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
You know, I love it at 9K. I love it at 9,500. I don't care. Because barring foul trouble, this sets up as a perfect matchup for Hassan Whiteside.
Yep.
The question is which one of these bigs is going to get the other big in foul trouble quicker? That is the prop bet of the night. 6.5 minute mark. Who hits 2 fouls first?
My money's on Jokic.
Ooh, just because he gets pissed and
he's a bigger dummy. He's a bigger dummy than Whiteside. So.
Yeah. With that said, that kind of leaves open if that's the kind of the way we're thinking, it kind of leaves open a little bit of Paul Millsap.
Yeah, certainly. Again, all the upside lies with either Jokic or Millsap. I mean, the rest of these guys, they're pretty good at hitting their salary-based expectations, but if you want upside from the Nuggets, it's going to be Jokic or Millsap.
Yeah, so. I loved all these backcourt guys for the Nuggets when they were like closer to 5,000. Will Barton's not doing enough for him to pay off that 5,000 for me to be interested. Wilson Chandler is just kind of a afterthought, and who would have thought that after they got rid of Gallinari?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're just all kind of eat into each other. Yeah, any one of them can get hot on any given night, but good luck trying to figure out who the heck that's going to be. So for me, it's maybe a tad a bit of Jokic. It's more Millsap. Other than that, it's Hassan Whiteside and some other Heat players.
Yeah, Jamal Murray's a guy that people are still sleeping on. So
he's too expensive for me.
You think?
What's he on? What's he on DK?
51.
Okay, there you can play him.
I mean, 55 on FanDuel
it's not
isn't
bad, but
the worst. I mean, hey, look, if you want to go, we'll look at common opponents during the week. I mean, remember, Teague dropped a 59.5 on Dragic's face earlier. So that's
I just get
perhaps the way to go.
so worried about Mike Malone and his stinking minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, look, and you've talked about this plenty of times with Jamal Murray, but ever since he got benched in Atlanta, I mean, he's been fantastic. He's scored 20 real points in 3 straight games.
That's right. That Toronto game was a blowout.
So, I mean, I think
That's why I was like, but why did he go and play 31 and 20 or 32 minutes, and all of a sudden now he played 21?
Yeah,
I forgot
that
it was a
that was
blowout.
a bad blowout.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, now I like Jamal Murray because if this
Correction, I like Jamal Murray.
I saw the minutes trend and I'm like, oh my God, what did he do against Toronto to get benched again? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, he scored 24 points. He's not going to assist a lot. He's.
Yes, I agree.
But I mean, yeah, that's a blowout. That explains it. I take that back. Jamal Murray, Paul Millsap. I'm writing down Jamal Murray in minutes, and yes. You notice I take notes now, right? Because I came into this thing, I decided and then realized that we talk about a lot of things, and then when I start building lineups at 5 o'clock after my final thoughts, I completely forget them.
Yeah. We'll see. I write them down on the computer, so I got them, and then I have a freakishly good memory, but I'm trying to remember what you said earlier. I'm kidding. Remember I told you before we hit the record button, I told you I had a good number on Tyler Johnson.
Yes, I've been waiting for this one.
In his last 3 games against the Nuggets, he's averaged just under 30 DraftKings points and 28.5 FanDuel points. He's going to get that matchup against Emmanuel Mudiay, who actually ranked 445th out of 468 NBA players in defensive real plus minus last season. So
you ready for this?
I am.
Click.
Boom. Oh, the notes are being taken?
Notes are being taken.
So, again, I have no idea what the circumstances were under Tyler Johnson, whether somebody was out or whatever the case is, but
Chicago?
He likes the Nuggets. No, I was saying in these last 3 games against the Nuggets, I don't know what the circumstances were. I didn't really look into it too much. I just pulled it up on StatMuse, and it appeared like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I want to go back and I want to look at his personal fouls because there's got to be a reason where he played, and maybe it's just game flow. I mean, nobody ever said that Spoelstra was a genius when it came to his rotations, but I mean, if he's going to play 26 minutes, 25 minutes, what do we got him at right now? I've got him at 23. He's right there on that verge at 4,100. What's he on DK?
Who's this, Tyler?
Yeah.
He is 45 on DK.
See, I like him better on DK or on FanDuel just because he's a little bit cheaper.
Yep. Speaking of Eric Spoelstra, just saw a picture of his wife. The man has confidence.
Oh, he better have confidence. He's the freaking head coach of the Miami Heat.
The man has confidence. Just saying.
So,
all right, let's get to this one. This should be pretty short and sweet, but well, not sweet. But Toronto Raptors at the Utah Jazz. Jazz favored by 2.5 in this one, but the line is going down. Total of 191.5 gross, but it's going up, of course. Toronto 3-1 against the Jazz in their last 3 meetings, covering 3 of those. And then let's see here. Injury news: CJ Miles doubtful for tonight's game for the Raptors with an illness. And then for the Jazz, Joe Johnson out with a wrist injury. You mentioned this to me before the podcast, so I will lay it upon the people. But 6 straight road games for the Toronto Raptors. I believe this has to be the last one of their road trip, right?
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, that is not a good thing. It's already tough enough trying to go into Utah and play quality basketball, but they're not going to that won't make matters any easier. So I assume this is a complete stay away from you.
Absolutely, 100%. Like we talked about it, what was it, Wednesday? We really liked the idea of, combining like a Nurkic, a CJ McCollum, and a Damian Lillard, like 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3, in there against, like Ricky Rubio and stuff like that. We liked that idea. This is not the place to test that theory again. This is not the time. Like, we just saw this Toronto Raptors team get absolutely blown out of the water by what I think is going to be a very, very good Portland team. And
Denver?
Yes, Denver. Well, they got beat by Portland, too.
No, they blew out Portland.
Did they?
Yeah, they blew the doors off Portland.
Oh, I had the days and scores mixed up, and yes, okay, yes.
I'm not here to judge you, Keith.
No,
Just keep the facts straight.
All of my days are kind of lining up differently. So, oh, yeah, I'm not touching this game on any, like, I don't bet, but I would probably bet that Utah's going to run away with this game. And I know we don't predict blowouts, but, like, think about how you feel at the end of a 10-day vacation.
Oh, man.
Not even a 10-day
where that vacation is.
Yeah, but not even a 10-day work, like, trip. A 10-day vacation. You're ready to go home.
I need a vacation from being at the airport, right? Like, that just sucks. Now, granted,
and they've been at the airport how many times?
Granted, these guys, they have a much different flying schedule than the rest of us common day folks, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah,
The only thing I'll say for all those Utah Jazz fans that download our podcast, the one way to attack Toronto early on this season has been down low. They're allowing the 10th most fantasy points per game to opposing centers, 7th most fantasy points per game to power forwards early on this season. So perhaps some Rudy Gobert, some Derek Favors, but again, it's only if you're a big fan of the purple and the yellow.
Yeah, I'm out.
Purple, yellow, purple, yellow. All right, here's the game that you were waiting on. Boston Celtics at the OKC Thunder. OKC 5-point favorites in this one at the start. A point and a half jump actually makes them 6.5-point favorites here. Total of 205 in this one. OKC is 3-1 straight up against Boston in their last 4 meetings, covering 2 of those. For the Celtics, Marcus Morris still out with the knee injury. OKC
he will be
injured
back tonight.
He will?
Just came out.
No shit. All right, so we will play then. Never mind. And then OKC does not have any injuries. Here's the one thing, though. So OKC, they've had 2 full days of rests coming into this game, and that's even after a huge blowout win on Tuesday against Milwaukee. So
none of the starters played over 28 minutes.
Right, so they've got a ton of rest coming into tonight's games. Keep that in mind. But let's start out with OKC. Now, obviously, the situations for both teams are much different, but Westbrook against the Celtics last season had a ridiculous output in both games, right around that 60-point mark in the first one, and then that second one, he goes ahead and posts 82.3 on DraftKings, 72.7 on FanDuel. Again, the situations are much different for both teams, but Westbrook at a very, very affordable 10,600 tonight on FanDuel.
Yes.
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 Yes across the board. Yeah. Yeah.
It just yes.
Yeah. I think the most appealing thing, though, is just how much rest they have coming into tonight's game and the blowout and everything like that. I think it's appealing. Some could say it could make them rusty. I mean, you know this OKC team better than anybody else. I mean, do they do well on all this rest, or
we haven't had this type? I mean, well, I guess we have. I don't like it as looking at it for like I want them to kind of get into a groove of playing like every other day or every third day or whatever. Because they're still trying to work out some of these kinks, and Billy Donovan is still trying to figure out rotations and stuff like that. But I can't say that it's a bad thing, because, I mean, would you rather 2.5 days rest, or would you rather play 3 and 4 and 5 and 6?
Right.
It just kind of goes like that. But, I mean, yeah, Russell Westbrook is on FanDuel and DraftKings. He's the cheapest we've seen him in a long time. He's still got 65-point potential. It's now everybody's going to be like, well, I thought you said you just don't pick on Boston. Well, yeah, I don't pick on Boston with mediocre players. I pick on Boston if you've got like elite level former MVPs still going. With that said, I'm not like advocating you go like Russell Westbrook as part of your core. I don't know how highly owned he's going to be, because I still think that unless it's, especially on a 12-game slate, this is kind of like one of those situations where I think I'm going to be heavier than the field, but I'm not going to be like 65%. I think he's going to be under 25% from what I'm thinking right now, just because you got LeBron, Harden, you got all these guys playing.
Sure.
I think he's viable. I don't think he's going to have a bad game. Now, here's the funny thing about it. We don't talk about a lot of these things, like, guys going home. We mention them, but we don't talk about exactly how much of a difference these types of situations make.
Yep.
Except when a guy is as emotional of a player as Marcus Smart.
Yes, I always remember the annual Marcus Smart back to Oklahoma game.
Yes. He's averaged 33 FanDuel points per game in Oklahoma City. Since he's coming in the league.
I'll dig it.
So,
I'll dig it.
I mean, in 2015, he put up a 43. That was a Sunday afternoon game, if you remember correctly. I do. Oh, no, wait. That was the I'm sorry. That was the 49.3 he put up in Oklahoma City, the end of the 2015 season. He came back in November of that year, put up a 43-point game, and then came back in December and last year and put up a 30-point game. His average against Oklahoma City and Boston, 15.2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe Marcus Smart Day last year for us was a very, very, very profitable day.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers here. Yeah, and it's funny, too. Each game that he's played at OKC, he's played at least 34 minutes. So, again, I assume he's going to be the one handling Russell Westbrook tonight. So, a lot of
possibilities.
So, yeah, I can certainly get down with that.
Yeah.
I dig it. All right.
And he's going to be next to nothing owned, guys. Like, nobody's going to play Marcus Smart tonight.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Paul George, again, he had some pretty good meetings against the Celtics in his career. At least 35 on DraftKings, 33 on FanDuel, and 7 of his last 8 meetings against the Celtics. Again, his price tag kind of coincides with that sort of production. But, again, not the same sort of ball dominance that he had when he was with the Pacers. But still, not a bad play. It's funny, I made a faux dummy lineup earlier, and I had exactly 7,600 left on FanDuel, and wouldn't you know it, Paul George was right there. So maybe it is meant to be. Who knows? For the Celtics side of things,
all I want to know with Paul George is Greg playing him. Like, Sparty, you have to let us know if you're playing him tonight.
That's right.
So
that is right.
And you only get that reference if you're a member of the Army. So
the subscription is worth that reference alone.
Yep.
Really is. Kyrie Irving in the last 4 games has been averaging right around 40 fantasy points on both sites. That's interesting. In the last 2 meetings against Russell Westbrook, Kyrie has scored 28 and 29 real points against him. Now, keep in mind that's with LeBron James on the team. Now that he's the main honcho in town, that could only be a good.
I just want to know if our buddies over there at the hotel down in Oklahoma City put bed bugs in his bed again.
Kyrie, one of the more fickle players there in the NBA.
Well, that is a haunted hotel that we make the visitors stay at.
Isn't all of Oklahoma haunted? What? Excellent one. Excellent. So yes, Kyrie is there. Keith, you still with us? He's there. He's there. He's just acting like he's not. Al Horford, not a bad idea tonight, especially if he gets matched up with Melo. Pretty good matchup for him here if that's the case. Horford, he's done well enough all season. A little bit of upside some nights, but again, each night he's posting a total that's not necessarily going to kill your lineup. So I could get down with some Horford. Not my favorite play, but it's viable.
I can't. Not against the front. I just, it's Marcus Smart for me. And that's just strictly off of the emotional play. Other than that, maybe a little bit of Kyrie. I mean, these are two of the better defensive teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's just, not something that I really have a lot of fun to and I'm not even talking like Marcus Smart's not even a core play. He's like a guy that I know that because he went to Oklahoma State, he gets up in these matchups. And it seems to be he gets up in this matchup in this building. So that's, that's why I play him. Other than that, I mean, what's Kyrie's price at on DK?
84.
No.
84 on both sites.
Sorry, wrong answer. Other than that, it's Marcus.
Oh no,
Smart.
it's the right answer, but
Well, yeah, but it's not the right answer for me to feel appealing actually playing him.
I hear
I know this is a higher, it's not even a high total. Like for an Oklahoma City game, this is not a high total, guys. It's just not.
Yeah.
So maybe
Boston games have kind of been the same way. Like they've had. Remember, I know that they were playing the Spurs, but earlier in the week, their total was at like 191 against them. Then they played Sacramento. I think they were barely over 200. So
here you go. If Steven Adams is 6,800, if you want to pair him and Russell Westbrook with a Marcus Smart in there and kind of go like a ping pong from this game, there's your tournament play.
Okay.
There's a tournament play. Pair up Marcus Smart and Russell Westbrook. And pair up Westbrook with Steven Adams and put Marcus Smart in another lineup. There you go. But other than that, that's the only interest I really have. And it's just, I'm sitting here looking at the number. These are two of the top three best teams in the NBA as far as fantasy points allowed. In nearly every single position. Like, the difference is like, okay, FanDuel points. Boston is allowing 191.8 points per game, FanDuel points. Oklahoma City, 194.6. Like, it's just not appealing to me.
No, absolutely. And I just did a little on-the-fly research as well. So for OKC, all but two of their games so far have hit the under. And for Boston, all but three of their games have hit the under. So makes sense. Makes plenty of sense. All right, let's move it along to the main event of the night. The Brooklyn Nets at the LA Lakers. Lakers started out as 3.5-point favorites. They've jumped down a point to 2.5. Over-under on this game, 225.5 at the start. That has also jumped up 2 points at 227.5. Lakers 3-1 against the Nets in their last four meetings. 3 of the last 4 in this series have gone under the total, but very high totals, hard to hit those. Jared Allen questionable for the Nets. Quincy Acey's out with the back injury for the Lakers. Larry Nance and Andrew Bogut both listed out for this game tonight. Of course, the Lakers, back end of a back-to-back, lost a heartbreaker at Portland last night. They're coming back down the coast to host the Nets tonight. So lots of narrative in this game. Of course, D'Angelo Russell, Brook Lopez, both going to be facing the only NBA teams they had known before this season. That is interesting. I will say, though, for D'Angelo Russell, like, I know the narrative is there to do well. I think he's going to shoot the ball a ton, but I have this feeling that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is going to be attached to his jersey all night long. No way the Lakers want D'Angelo coming in here having the game of his life. So that, I know D'Angelo's probably going to have a lot of ownership tonight just because of the narrative and everything. But again, I find it interesting. He's just not a mortal lock in my lineups tonight.
Okay, let me ask you this.
All right.
do you think it's a higher likelihood that D'Angelo busts or goes bananas?
Well, bananas for him is like just like I don't think he's gonna get 60. I guess the more likely scenario is him busting. But because he's been able to move the ball well. I feel like tonight he's gonna try to do too much. I mean, his shot has looked awesome this season. Like he's been shooting the ball very well. I just wonder if he's gonna try to do too much.
I would rather play KCP. I'm kind of leaning in that same thing. KCP's going to be glued to him like white on rice. I will be fading D'Angelo Russell tonight, along with another guy we'll get into here in just a moment. And I will back up that D'Angelo Russell fade with some Spencer Dinwiddie. Possibly.
Interesting.
Definitely some Rondé Hollis Jefferson. And maybe some Damari Carroll?
Okay.
Maybe?
Okay.
I'm trying to see what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to look at, some of the guys that are just going to kind of get overlooked.
Yeah.
Because, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the Lakers, but we're not going to know a lot of news. The only thing that we know going into this is Brook Lopez and D'Angelo Russell are facing their older team, and that Larry Nance Jr. broke his thumb last night.
Right.
That's about it. But, I mean, are they going to let D'Angelo play? And I don't mean like play. I mean like, he is just now, he's coming off an injury. He's been working his way back. As far as the minutes are concerned, he went 17, 24, 28. I think if he plays 33, 34 minutes, he does have 50-point upside going into this matchup. There ain't no way KCP's letting him get that.
No.
In fact, Magic Johnson's probably, if not already, is probably doing it as we speak, sitting down with Luke Walton and say, I don't care what you do. This guy is not coming into our house tonight on national television.
And taking cell phone videos of everyone.
And going bananas. And you know what? The only thing that can make this matchup and this return home even better is if Swaggy P was still with the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants Swaggy. I mean, I know the Warriors have him, but do they really want him? Yeah, I could certainly get down with that. Here's the interesting thing. The Nets they do have 2 full days of rest coming into this game. They got 2 full days of rest after this game, but the next week they actually have 2 back-to-backs. So again, I don't think that has much to do with tonight, but I don't know. It's interesting if things get out of hand. And again, too, like the Lakers on the back end of a back-to-back, we know teams typically aren't as, up for it. I mean, certainly you can make the case that, maybe KCP's tired from following Lillard all over the place last night. I think, things will be fine. The thing with D'Angelo Russell, too, like, I'm not thrilled with his minutes. Like, he's really only playing just under 30 a night. So that kind of sucks. I think that there's a lot more guys.
Even before the injury?
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, he was. His high point was 30 in that opening game against Indiana. Everything else was just under 30. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like having D'Angelo Russell on the team. Again, he's a guy that moves the ball that I'm always down for. But, I think the massive upside, you need him to be going like 7 of 10 from 3-point land for this massive upside to really work for him.
He's got to have the game of his life for him to pay off his price and the ownership that you're going to get out of him.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to have a career type game. And I will take the odds against that with KCP guarding him every single day of the week.
Yeah. What's funny is that I feel like whenever we're really critical of our own teams, they end up doing well. And they're like, Like, you had some doubt in me. I showed you, son of a bitch. But we'll see. We shall see. I guess all those other situations didn't have KCP guarding them. So, for the Lakers, I'm very interested in Lonzo Ball tonight. I mean, I've been watching this damn team all season. Point guards have been going nuts against the Nets. I know, and it's the perfect narrative too, right? So we saw it with Ball the first couple of games of the season where he just absolutely sucked against the Clippers. He came out that next game, had the best game of his career up to this point against the Suns. Very similar situation here. Awful game last night against the Blazers. He took 2 shots last night. Don't know how many people.
With that?
Don't know how many people. I only watched the second half of the game last night, so
he took those 2 shots in the first quarter.
Yeah, I couldn't give you a great synopsis of what the deal was. Everybody said it looked like he was playing scared. I mean, the guy is a rookie, so I'm sure there's something in that, but I don't know. I think tonight against the Nets, I just feel like the matchup is way too good to pass up. I think it's just a great matchup. There's no reason to avoid it. And I know people are going to be scared to death to roll Lonzo out there after taking those 2 shots last night, but I am not one of those people.
Yeah, I think the only reason you're avoiding it is if you think he's going to be like 35 to 40% owned.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to be highly owned, but I don't see him getting over 22%.
And I just want to say too, you brought up a good point the last time we did a podcast about how our Slack chat has so many people in it, where that's kind of the voice of the public, right? And not one good word about Lonzo Ball anywhere. No. So again, I don't see.
Now, mind you, I still go through and I still. I don't know how many of our competitors actually listen to this podcast right now, but I still go back and I still read a bunch of articles. Oh. I do pay for subscriptions, so I know where the public's going, but that has to do with me being a tournament player. Yeah. I've got to, we've got to know where the public's going so we can kind of leverage that. And I already know where a lot of the focus is going to be on the Lakers tonight.
Indeed. All right, so with that Nance injury, obviously we think some minutes are going to open up for Julius Randle and Kyle Kuzma tonight. Maybe even a little more Brandon Ingram. I mean, Ingram's been phenomenal. He's been playing a ton of minutes as well. That's probably the area that I'm more likely to go to tonight. But how can we try to look at this Randle Kuzma thing?
It for me, and it's strictly an ownership tournament play. Because I know, this is the perfect matchup for Julius Randle. I'm not saying it's a bad matchup for Kyle Kuzma, but Kuzma's going to be, I would say, almost double the ownership. Everybody's like, Kuz, and it's just
fun to say. It's fun to say.
Not only that, but it's what he did last night. I mean, Kuzma came out and he had a game, and we called it. I said it, I was like, this is a place that you can go and attack. And now, and it's not hopping off because I'm afraid that he's not going to perform. It's hopping off because his ownership is going to be through the freaking roof. Because this is the only hammer game. It's the highest total of the night. It's 2 bad defenses, one coming off the back. And now we have an injury opening up minutes.
Well put. And, I assume Kuzma will be in the starting lineup. So, you got to think that some of his usage is going to come down a bit. I remember during the preseason there was a quote.
It's going to be Randall.
Nah, I think it'll be Kuz. The reason why is there was a quote that Walton had during the preseason saying that there's a good chance that Kuzma could be in the starting lineup at some point. We've seen Randall coming off the bench consistently. I think that's again. I'm trying to get into the mindset of Luke Walton, which is probably dumb. But again, even if I assume we'll get word of who's starting prior
not before lock.
I don't know. I think we will because we already know that Nance is out, right? So I'm sure at the morning shoot around, if they have one, Walton will probably say
it's going on right now.
Who the starter is. So
I've been watching Twitter all morning trying to find out.
Okay.
Because I hope they don't announce it.
Okay. But yeah, and it's crazy too. You look at Randall. I'm just looking at the minutes here for Randall's game log, but I mean, he's only played over 20 minutes twice. this is a back end of a back-to-back. I mean, you hope to God that, hey, Randall's fresh. Why don't we put him in for more minutes tonight?
Here's the thing. They're the exact same price. Okay? We have Julius Randle projected to play 3 less minutes and outscore Kyle Kuzma by 6.
Oh, my.
You're telling me the ownership's going to be on Kuzma? Now I just thought about this. Now I hope they say that Kuzma's going to start. Because that's just going to skyrocket it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will play all the Julius Randle.
I didn't write it down in my notes, but I got it in my head.
Oh. All right. We're good.
Yes, we are good. All right, that'll do it, folks. Good podcast today. Obviously, well, it'll be out here in a little bit. But, again, if you're not a member at DFS Army, make sure you go up there, sign, use the promo code PODCAST, 20% off each month of your subscription, access to the Domination Station. And if you sign up today, you get access to all the NFL stuff that we got going on. I believe NASCAR still in the mix. I have no idea what damn cars are making a bunch of left turns. Who gives a crap? But, hey, you get access to it on the Domination Station, all for a price of about $30, I believe. So, use that promo code podcast, gets it down 20% there. So fantastic deal. One of the best in the DFS industry. But that's all I got. Keith, have a good weekend. Any closing thoughts?
Thunder up!
Thunder up. And NETS, nuts. For me, Keith, rest of the army, we go.
Peace out.